What was the experience like when we started a preteen ministry at our church?
How do we be at the top of the line? And I think that that is a cool perspective, because I feel like so often church and children's ministry is childcare. What happens is that they are going to look to find that passion or that purpose in other places. Why isn't that at church? And why aren't the kids writing the puppet shows? And why aren't they doing the whole worship team and doing all of those things? So have that community eating dinners together, and then also have your purpose built into that of how is God calling you. A very unique experience that I didn't realize was so unique, but it was.
Put yourself back in that little girl. What were you looking forward to doing that, other kids were not able to do in their church life?
I think I felt very activated in my faith. Probably my favorite thing was like teaching the younger classes, so like kindergarten class or something. That was the first time of kind of wrestling with, is this real for me? Is this something that my parents have decided? But I feel like my faith was so tangible, and the things that I had experienced of hearing from God, reading the Bible, it's living and active. So for so many years, having those devotions of feeling like it's really changing my life, building those friendships and people speaking into my life and all of those things, it made it where I had such a conviction in my heart of being like, no, I do really want to make this real for me. I didn't have that urge of wanting to let that go, because I do feel like in my life it felt very real.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Zacek. I'm with Leaders in Training, and I have a very special guest with me today that I'm so excited to talk to and ask questions and hear some of her story. Her name is Natalie Downey. She is an Instagram influencer and a YouTuber and a content creator. She does marketing and communications, and she is very amazing. She lives in Florida with her husband Josh, and she's also my daughter, so I'm just delighted to spend time with her today and ask her some questions about her story growing up as a preteen, the story of her discipleship journey in that time. So enjoy. Good morning, Natalie.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I am good.
Good, and I failed to mention in the intro that you are expecting your first child, which is very exciting.
I know, lots of life changes. I didn't know if you would start it with the fact that I was your daughter. That's why it was so amazing.
Yeah. No, yes. I'm so, and what I was afraid that this conversation could turn into is there's a funny Chris Farley skit where he really looks up to, I think it's Patrick Swayze, and he's going, remember that time in that movie when that was awesome.
Like, you don't explain any of the inside jokes. It's just things that you remember.
Well, he just fawns over him and just adores, because I love you so much, and I'm so proud of you, and
Aww.
It'd be very easy for this to turn into just a
proud dad moment.
Yeah, a proud dad session. But I do have some good questions I want to ask. So first of all, tell us about this season of your life. What's happening and going on with you today?
Yeah, I feel like this season is busy, like you said, we're expecting our first baby.
Yay.
And been working on the house a lot of different things. I feel like my husband Josh loves to fix up stuff with the house, and then even more in the nesting period. Work cool. Being busy, and our coffee business that we have of just kind of coming out with some new products and some new blends and taste testing everything, and just everything that comes with that, owning a business, the fulfillment side and customer service, and all of that has been very exciting and definitely a passion project. But I feel like busy is usually the word around all of that.
Yeah. So what do you think might change as you come into delivering this baby, and like, do you have any plans for offloading or just slowing different things down? Or
Yeah, I feel like we have entered the season of trying to delegate in some other ways, and so especially in our business of delegating the fulfillment side of things. Yes. And delegating in some of the different editing and behind the scenes, like all of the stuff where we don't necessarily have to be the ones like specifically doing that, trying to figure out where that goes. But I think a lot of it will be figuring it out as it goes, because I think that will kind of rock our world of just such a different thing, and will change so much. But I feel like we don't necessarily have a concrete plan other than taking some time off after the baby is born and then figuring things out.
That's cool. Well, your journey has been so various. as you've gone, because you've had different adventures even from the time of being in college to young marrieds and building your businesses and things like that. So you're used to being flexible, for sure.
Yeah, and I think too, like, I never expected this to be my career path or anything like that, and it feels like it was a lot of passion projects that kind of ended up being where we are now and kind of rolling with the punches of things. So I think in a way that I am a planner, that has been interesting how much it has been off the whim or like kind of going or dealing with things as they happen.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you and Josh are a team and you're working together, but you're not in a traditional family marriage situation where like one of you goes to a 9-to-5 or both of you go to a 9-to-5. So what's it been like building your team work together in such interesting businesses?
Yeah, I feel like it's probably not for every couple, just from like work styles and stuff. It definitely makes us like spend so much more time together, and then also deal with a lot more things because you're dealing with not just your marriage and relationship on that aspect, but also your work style, workflow, and everything like that. So I feel like for a long time it was kind of, I was the main vision of everything just because of like being front facing on the camera and all of that, and he did a lot more of the behind the scenes stuff. So that was kind of our flow of like, it was more my visions of things. And so that's what's been really cool about starting Nat's Cafe, is I feel like I operate more on that side of things, and now he operates more when it comes to Nat's Cafe things, where like we vet everything together, but it's nice to kind of have a little bit of our own lanes and then navigate how we can join together on the vision of it.
Yeah, and I didn't mention this in the bio, but Nat's Cafe is a business that you have started. And why coffee? Like, how did coffee come into the story?
I mean, I feel like it was this natural progression of, we wanted to start something. We were very passionate about like creating something that felt more than just posting content and things like that. And so we'd kind of gone down the avenue of, what about clothing, or, you know, what about just all of these other things and spitballing. But I have always loved coffee, and then recently got Josh into loving coffee. So I feel like I love the taste of it and like the experience and how it brings people together. And then Josh definitely got in the very niche side of it, of like specialty grade, where it's being sourced from, the different notes of that. So I feel like that was cool for both of us to be very excited about. And then just the more that we did research and taste tested different things, we really became passionate about the coffee that we are selling, and then getting to even have more passion projects with that, like giving back to a foster home and getting to support the farmers that actually are the one harvesting the coffee and making sure that their working and living conditions are good, and kind of having like a mission that goes beyond us, which feels like a cool thing, because as of before, we were able to like give towards projects or kind of have more personal stuff. But it's cool to have our business feeling like it's making an impact on people's work lives or what they're doing too. So I feel like it was a very full circle thing of every aspect of it we were just really, really passionate about and loved, that it felt very seamless in moving forward.
That's cool. And I am a customer. I love Nat's
Cafe.
Yes,
you're very supportive.
And before that, I really didn't drink a lot of espressos or lattes or things, but getting into that coffee drinking thing, it's really been fun to explore. So thank you for your great
I feel
products.
the same. It's like I knew what I liked before, and it was more simple. And then the more that we've gone into that, I've been like, oh, well, I want to try this thing or do this fun thing. So it's definitely been, it feels almost more of like a hobby now, drinking coffee.
And I've noticed from watching your videos that you seem to serve a lot of people coffee. Like, what's your joy in serving like coffees to your friends and things like that?
Yeah, I think kind of what I was touching on, of the experience of having coffee is such a happy thing. So getting to share coffee with family and friends and stuff like that brings me so much joy. Because I love it. So it like fills my heart, where it's something that I feel like we've worked on and created, and people say, oh, this is really good, or like this is the best coffee or something like that. Obviously makes me really happy. But then just getting to like have a shared experience or bring people together. We love hosting and having people over and stuff like that. So I think it just gives that community aspect of a nice touch point of you can invite people over and you can serve people in that way. So I don't know. I just love it.
That's cool. All right, I want to dive back into your younger years because I work with leaders in training, obviously, and one of my passions and my main passion is helping churches find a way to mentor their kids and their youth, their preteens specifically. So you were kind of my patient zero with starting a preteen ministry. So if you can remember back to that time of your life, maybe what was the experience like when we started a preteen ministry at our church and you were kind of in the initial group of people that did that with me?
Yeah. Well, I would say something about you that has always been a interesting thing and very fun of just being your children, because I feel like it was Jackson and I that kind of like, were in the intro of all of that, is that you always do things to 100%. So I feel like when it came to you being in charge of the kids ministry at church or doing different things on there, it wasn't like, oh, we're just going to read a Bible story. It was, we're going to write an entire play and have a puppet show that is in that and build pirate ship and do all of these things. Like, how do we be at the top of the line? And I think that that is a cool perspective, because I feel like so often church and children's ministry is childcare. And so it's just, how do we get the kids babysat and make sure they're not choking? And like, that's good. And, there needs to be safety and all of that stuff. But then what happens is that they are going to look to find that passion or that purpose in other places. So lots of, families find that in sports and in extracurricular activities and things like that. But it's, why isn't that at church? And why isn't there that fun community and purpose aspect? I feel like those were kind of the three things that you tried to hit on in creating the preteen ministry of, why aren't the kids writing the puppet shows and why aren't they doing the whole worship team and doing all of those things? So I feel like that was very fun to learn together and have friendships involved in that, have that community eating dinners together, and then also have your purpose built into that of how is God calling you? Because some people are really good at organizing and some people are really good at writing plays and some people are really good at playing guitar. So it's not going to be a one size fits all, but it's one something fits everybody in the kingdom of God. So I feel like that was a very unique experience that I didn't realize was so unique, but it was.
Yeah. Oh, it was so fun for me. I've always been kind of a rec director in my heart. So looking for ways for kids to have fun has been so special, and to connect that to meaning has been so special.
Yeah.
So what, put yourself back in that little girl, what were you looking forward to doing that, other kids were not able to do in their church life?
I think I felt very activated in my faith. Probably my favorite thing was like teaching the younger classes, so like kindergarten class or something. And it was, you had, a month or a few weeks to prepare a kindergarten lesson. So you're teaching the lesson, coming up with a craft, and coming up with a snack. And so I think it was a gradual building of kind of allowing people to prove themselves. Can you do this? And how much do you need assistance? But getting to the point of being like, wow, the kids are having a lot of fun or doing this thing. And, even makes me think to what we were talking about earlier of serving coffees and having people over and giving back in that way. But a touch point into like your faith of serving those kindergartners and teaching a lesson and having a snack and all of that. Like, clearly that's something that was a passion or an interest. So how do you attach your faith to that and then help, the younger generation?
That's cool. Is there any kind of a gift or a skill that you discovered through that process that you might not have discovered another way, or not necessarily?
Yeah, I think it gave me an appreciation of the body of Christ, kind of what I was saying earlier, of like, some people are really skilled when it comes to organizing out a closet or something like that, and how I think that can get overshadowed sometimes, because if you're not the worship leader, how much are you really impacting the kingdom of heaven? But then it's, if all of the crafts are organized in here and people have a seamless way to go and do these activities and serve the kids, like, there's a purpose for each different thing. So I think it taught me the importance of never like looking over the least of these things, or kind of creating church as you're only as important as it is like flashy or, being on stage or being the lead pastor. but how it's the check-in experience and the behind the scenes and the soundboard and learning all of those things that might not even have been like a great passion, but I think it makes you appreciate every single person in that. So I think that that definitely helped facilitate that viewpoint.
That's cool. I love that. That's a great perspective. One of the things I think about with creating opportunities for kids to serve is it's like a sandbox, playing in a sandbox. You know, when in a sandbox, you can be a railroad and train conductor, you can be a construction person, you can be a businessman, you can be a builder. And so in the church, so often there's not really opportunities for kids to try out different things and even fail. So can you think of any ministry opportunities that you tried something and it was like, hey, this isn't for me, but I tried it at least?
Probably playing the bass.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I forgot you did that.
Yeah, just because I think you needed a bass player, and so it's like I decided to learn that, and it was fine. I just think it probably wasn't a big passion of mine or things like that, or definitely having a lot of mistakes in it. But I agree with what you're saying. I think as kids and adults, honestly, so often of the time we only do things that we're really good at. And I think allowing a space that you can be bad at something or learn something, because probably half the time you're going to do it and then decide that you really like it and make it something serious. And then the other half of the time you're going to say, I actually didn't like that, but at least I can say that I tried it. So I do think that that's important to like create a space that kids can be bad at something too and either decide, okay, I want to get better, or okay, that's not for me.
Yeah. Would you say that there were... I think of like the carrot in preteen ministry is the ministry stuff, like the band and the plays and things like that. Do you think that those things helped you actually get closer to God, because it's like, well, I've got to do my devotion so that I can be like, how did it feel like you were being manipulated, or did it feel like it kind of smurged together and created a connection?
Yeah, I think in any walk of life, it's really important, and what the local church should be doing is creating a community atmosphere. So if it was just the only important thing was memorizing Bible verses and reading the Bible and doing that, like people can do that on their own. They don't need a system for doing that, whatever. But I think within the local church, having opportunities, not just for adults, but for kids as well, to be around other kids, have cool activities, have things that they're a part of and in charge of, and that it does make a difference and it does, move the needle in keeping people involved and stuff like that, I think is important spokes of the wheel.
Yeah, that's cool. One of the things that I love to talk about is the effect of these ministries on retaining the next generation. Like they seem to feel bought in. They seem to love to be connected and to have an opportunity to serve. So can you describe a time when maybe, have you had a time where you were like, I just need a break from church, or I need a break from faith, or like, have you had a moment like that where some of these teachings held on to you, or?
Yeah, I think it was a big shift in me leaving home and going to college, because my whole life it was very much laid out of you have to go to church and you have to be involved in these things and stuff like that, where I kind of had this realization of, oh, I could just sleep in on a Sunday and, I don't have to make that a reality for myself. But I think because it was so real in my life, and because I felt so tangible, the difference of, yes, I think that in leaving and going to college, that was like a first experience of I needed to make my faith real for me, because whereas before it was your parents drive you to church and that's kind of in your routine. But I think that was the first time of kind of wrestling with, is this real for me? Is this something that my parents have decided and, is easier to just go along with, but when it comes to me making my own decisions, like I'll choose something else. But I feel like my faith was so tangible, and the things that I had experienced of hearing from God, reading the Bible, it's living and active. So for so many years, having those devotions of feeling like it's really changing my life, building those friendships and people speaking into my life and all of those things, it made it where I had such a conviction in my heart of being like, no, I do really want to make this real for me. It will look different because now, I'm going to be in a space that I haven't been before and all of those things. But I didn't have that urge of wanting to let that go because I do feel like in my life it felt very real.
So I think you're part of a church now, right? So you have a church that you love. I've been there to visit a few times, and that's been super exciting. Do you still continue to serve there? What's your rhythm of your new church life and married life?
Yeah, I think it took us a little bit longer to start in serving because I don't know what the reason is. I guess that same thing of like when it's not laid out in front of you of doing that. But then it was enough Sundays of attending where I'm like, I do feel like there is such an importance of attending your local church and then serving and, giving back in that way. So we tried out some different areas in the kids department, and now we are serving in the babies and like infants and stuff. And we've taken a little step back of as consistently because I was very sick in pregnancy. But all in all, we really enjoy doing that and kind of finding a different avenue of being able to watch babies and pray over them and stuff so that people can enjoy service.
Man, that's cool. When I see your life, and obviously I know you because you're my daughter, but like your life feels very exceptional, and I mean that in the best possible way. Like it just feels like you've consistently made godly choices, and the Lord has blessed you. Is there a secret to your thought process on how you make decisions and how you move forward that kind of has protected you from making mistakes, maybe? Or
I think some people in life, it's like you're one of two ways where you learn really well of watching other people doing things and then you don't want to make those mistakes. And then some people have to just figure it out for themselves. And I think that path is a little bit harder. But again, that's more of just how people are wired and stuff like that. So I feel like in watching other people's decisions and kind of seeing a life without God and a life without that purpose, I haven't wanted to do that. So that hasn't been that I haven't made mistakes or, fallen into seasons of making my life more about me and, doing all of those things. But I feel like for the most part, anytime I kind of have that wake up call of, oh, I don't know if I'm right where I want to be, it makes me really want to align with God's plan for my life because I feel like that is such a slippery slope of if I'm going to make all my decisions and make my life just perfect for me, what is the purpose in that? And so I do think that aligning with what God wants you to do and kind of always trying to tune in and keep yourself accountable in that way is difficult, but I do think that there's a lot of purpose in that and kind of leads to joy, purpose, blessing in a lot of those different aspects. And then I think when you deal with hard things, it's, God doesn't promise that your life is going to be perfect or easy or any of that, but it kind of helps to give you that framework of there's a purpose on the other side of it, or you can move through it easier because you're able to see there's purpose even in like your pain.
That's very powerful and helpful. When you feel like I'm suffering for no reason, it's discouraging. But when you feel like, well, I'm suffering, but there's a well, if you're living for heaven, because it's not going to be fair. And so I feel like in different people navigating different things, if you are just living for life on earth, then it's just unfair and it's just sad and there's not a purpose. And I mean, that has got to be so, so difficult. Whereas if you're living for heaven where there isn't pain and there isn't suffering, you can at least, pray that season will pass and pass quickly, but have a, okay, what key am I going to hold at the end of this? Or what perseverance am I going to gain? Or kind of having that perspective throughout it. Friendships is one of the things that I love to talk about with preteen ministry because preteen, that season of life is so hard.
Yeah.
There's so many changes that are going on, and a lot of times preteens can be mean to each other. So how did some of the friendships form during your preteen time that have kind of carried you through different seasons of life?
Yeah. I think friendships have always been really, really important to me, and unfortunately for parents, I just do think in looking back at that time in my life, you want family to be the most important to your preteens or teenagers, and like their friends are going to be the most important. And so I think consistently putting them in front of and involved in situations where you're at least hoping that they will bump shoulders with people with similar values and stuff like that is such a good place to start, because I feel like a lot of my memories and good experiences and things were involved in church and ministry. So it did help to build, as much as you are a preteen, and like you said, there's probably a lot of jealousy and a lot of envy and a lot of, mean comments, or you're working through all of those emotions. If you're getting foundationally poured into by people who care about you and getting to hear from God and stuff like that, you're still going to navigate those things, but I think it creates a stronger foundation in those friendships, or at least you can work through them. Whereas if you don't have some of those tools, you're just kind of lost in it. And so I think that has helped to kind of create that foundation early. Again, like continue to navigate on in things, but you're probably always going to navigate different stuff when it comes to friendships. But I think that it's an important aspect in any area of your life. It's just maybe harder when you're a preteen.
Yeah, it is. That's been one of my passions, is to give preteens a place to connect and to build those friendships so that they can carry godly friendships into their teen life, where it's often really challenging and difficult. So there was a question I wanted to ask about. Did you have any heroes as a little girl? Everyone has heroes, but was there anybody that you ended up looking up to in ministry or in the church life that kind of said to you, I think I want to be like them, I want to follow in their footsteps?
Yeah, I think a lot of the different leaders that we had that were involved in my life and, wanting to care about me and different things that I was involved in ministry, and then also in thrifting or some of those different aspects. I feel like I looked up to a lot of different people at different times of, I want to be like them or something, which is a really powerful thing in a preteen.
Yeah, I try to communicate to pastors that I'm talking to, you want to create great teenagers that are living for the Lord, that your preteens can look up to and say, I want to be like that kid in the youth group, or that kid that's helping lead worship or whatever. And then the kids to look up to the preteens and say, I want to be Natalie, or I want to be
it's nice to
Jackson,
have people a few years older and for adults even to be like pouring into, so that should hopefully be that waterfall system of like everybody has a little something to look up to or in that next season of life.
Cool. Yes. So this is a kind of a more broad question, but in your pursuits and in your passions, what is your why? Like, what do you want to give to the world or to give to people through your content and through your coffee and all those things?
Yeah, I think most of all, a joy of life in general, and kind of having that mindset that life is fun and it is enjoyable, and even in pursuing God and living a godly life and being involved in your church and being a good friend to people and kind of pushing through when it's hard, all of those things, that it is so joyful and that there is joy in that. I feel like that is kind of the thread that feels like it weaves throughout a lot of the different things that I am doing. And so I like to kind of lean into that.
Yeah, I love to read the comments on your YouTube videos afterwards. So many people, they express joy in the way that they reflect on what you're presenting and what you're showing them. And it makes me so proud and happy as a dad to see like how you're touching people even in other countries all over the world, with the joy that you bring through your presentations and things like that. So I think you're successful at your purpose. Thank you. Well, how can people connect with you if they want to follow you or whatever? Like, where's a way that they can get coffee or whatever like that?
Yeah, well, that is Nat's Cafe. So if you search that, but then everything else is pretty much Natalie Zacek. So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of those things.
Awesome. Cool.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a joy and a pleasure to interview you, and I'm praying for you every day, as I always have, that God would bless you and your family and everything you do.
Well, I'm very thankful for the prayers.
Okay.
Yes. All right. How do you sign off? A handshake.